So welcome to lesson 3. Lesson 3 is something called using calculators to solve equations. We've been doing this for a very long time. So remember what an equation what an equation has. An equation has an equal sign. And remember what an equation actually even means. It just means that the left side, whatever you have, right, 3, is equal to the right side, 3. So that's an equation, right? So 3 equals 3, left side equals right side, we're good, okay? If you have something like x equals 3, right? That could work sometimes, right? It's not always going to be 3. But if I have like 2x equals x plus x, that is going to work 100% of the time, right? Left side equals the right side. If you have x times x, the right side to get it to be equivalent is going to be x squared, okay? I think you get the point. So our calculator does this in an AISL. They actually encourage you to use the calculator, right? So whatever you do is, here's the equal sign. So plug this under y1, plug this under y2, okay? So if it says solve for x, this is all you have to do. You don't need to sit there and do minus x, minus 4, right? Bring it over, factor, all of that jazz. The calculator does do it for you, okay? So this is how you do this on the calculator. So you go to your calculator, go to y equals, and whatever's on the left side of the equal sign, like I said, plug it under y1. So x squared, the squared is right here, minus 4x plus 1 equals, and then on the other side, you plug this under y2, okay? Next thing you're going to do is hit graph, so you can see both graphs. So in blue is the first one, and in red is the second one. So I can visually see right now that my graph is going to have two solutions. There's going to be one solution here and one solution here. So I want to find out what that solution is. So you hit second trace, which is calc. Option number 5 is called intersection. So you hit number 5, you go close to the point that you have where they meet, and you hit enter, enter, enter 3 times, and it gives you an answer, right? 0.541 in 3 significant figures. So that's one of your answers, right? X is about 0.541. And then to find the other one, you do the same thing. So second trace, option number 5, intersect, and now we're going to go over to the other point, okay? If you can't see both points, or you can't see where they meet, like the solution, you're going to have to change the window. Um, but right now, since we can see it, I'm just going to hit enter, enter, enter 3 times, and it gives me my other solution, right? Which is 5.54 in 3 significant figures. So 5.54, and those are my two values of x. Done. Literally done. Okay? You don't need to do any quadratic formula, no completing the square, no factoring. This actually wouldn't be easy to factor. So yeah. All right. You could also have used the Polysimul 2 app. And what I mean by that is, if you go to your calculator, you hit apps right here. Um, on your calculator, it's going to be either 8 or 9. In mine, it's 2. So Polysimul 2. Hit any key. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a poly root finder. So option number 1, right? So if I were to do, if you're using Polysimul 2, you literally just go ahead and subtract x, subtract 4, subtract 4. This cancels, and you're left with x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. And then you would go to your calculator. The order is 2. That's the highest exponent. We want to, since we're not really sure if it's real or imaginary, I know my answers are real, but you know, if you were doing this for the first time, you would not. And then you can go ahead and leave your answer as you could change it into fraction if you would like. Let's see if that happens. You don't have to worry about radian or degree. So now right, the first one that you're putting in is the number that's in front of this x squared, which is an imaginary 1. For the next one, you're going to put in the number that's in front of the x, which is negative 5. Okay, the 5 and the negative go together. And the c term, which is negative 3, is going to go under a0. So negative 3. And then you literally just hit solve, and it'll give you your two numbers. Okay, whichever one is easier for you, they both do the same exact thing. All right. Moving on. This is exactly the same way. So there are 4 different ways of factoring. Why do I only have 3 here? Oh, you could actually do factoring, graphic. You could do quadratic formula is going to be RD. Quadratic formula. Okay. So you could do minus 3 here, minus 3. So you get x squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. So factoring, right, you're going to do two numbers that multiply to give us negative 3 and add to give us negative 2. And multiplies to 3 is 3 and 1. To get them to add up to be negative 2, the negative 3, the 3 has to be negative, the 1 has to be positive. So I have x minus 3 and x plus 1, both equaling 0. Split it down the middle. X minus 3 equals 0. Switch the sign. You get x equals 3 is one answer. And over here, x plus 1 equals 0 minus 1 from both sides, and you get x equals negative 1 is your two answers. Okay. You could also do this by graphing. Just like I showed you above, right? You're going to plug in whatever's on the left side of the equal sign, y1. Right side, you're going to plug it under y2, and you're going to see where they intersect. So second, right, trace, option number 5 is intersection. So it's going to graph it for us because I did not graph it. Da, 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 da. There you go. So those are your two intersections, and you can see here negative 1 and 3, or you can do the steps, right? Second trace, option number 5, go next to a point, right? Enter, 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 and you can do that for the other one, okay? So negative 1, we're only looking for the x, and over here it's going to be x equals 3. So that's factoring, that's graphing, completing the square, right? I'm not going to do that, but you could use completing the square or quadratic formula. The last thing we're going to do is what if you have like a 2 by 2, right? You have um, something that looks like this, right, that you have to solve, or a 3 by 3, something that looks like this that you have to solve, right? So either way you do it, you could still do this on the calculator. So for this one, let's get out of this. You have x, y, z. You have three equations and three variables. So this is apps. You're going to do option number 2, which is polysymbol 2. Hit any key. And now you're going to choose option number 2, simultaneous. Simultaneous just means you're solving equations at the same time. Simultaneous means at the same time. So we're going to hit option number 2. And here, for this question, we have three variables and three equations. So I'm going to go to 3, hit enter, go underneath, go to 3, hit enter. This is just a matter of preference. Do you want your answers as decimal fraction? I just leave it as a fraction. It's easier, so I don't have to round to 3 significant figures. Radian degree doesn't matter. Float is just decimal places, doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and hit graph, which is next. And now I'm plugging the numbers that are in front, right? So 1 here, make sure you type the numbers in correctly, hit enter. 2 is next. This is a negative 1. There's an imaginary 1 there, so I'm going to do negative 1. Enter. I think you get the point. So I went ahead and finished it. Things to keep in mind, make sure that the letters are in the same spot. So if you're doing X, all the X's should be here. All the Y's should be here. All the Z's should be here. The other thing to note is this last one, make sure that you hit enter for the last one. Otherwise, it's going to leave it at 0. And then you just hit solve, right? Which is the graph button. And it gives you X is 1, y is 2, and z is 3, right? So x is 1, y is 2, and z is 3. You're done, okay? So this is just a reminder. So you will go ahead and do a 2 by 2 the same way, except instead of the 3, 3, you do 2, 2, and it goes into it. And again, on the bottom over here, there's a couple of more like questions that you can do, and I want you to try them yourself, okay? Great job. I hope everything is well. Ask if you have any questions. Use your calculator for all of these, okay? You don't need to show work and do these manually. You shouldn't. It's gonna waste time.